All right, sir, let's begin with the first slide. Now, what we see here, sir, is the title of our case study. Imagine the words themselves creating a visual. The silence is placed right there, between the walls. This title immediately sets up the central metaphor, sir. It's about a story called The Silence Between the Walls, which, as the name suggests, is about the profound impact of things left unsaid. Sir, does the title itself give you a hint about the theme? Yes, sir, it seems to be about a lack of communication or distance. Precisely, sir. That's the core idea we will be exploring. Let's move to the next slide, sir. Here, the visual is a direct quote presented as a very personal confession. Notice how it's framed, sir, to feel intimate. The story opens with this statement from an 84-year-old woman named Helen. She says she's been carrying something for a very long time. Sir, the phrase carrying something suggests a burden, doesn't it? Exactly, sir. It's not just a memory, it's a weight. This tells us we're exploring a lifelong regret. Okay, sir, on to the next slide. This is a section title, sir. Visually, it acts as a signpost for our discussion. The words themselves, a heavy, silent secret, are meant to feel significant and set the focus for this first part. This is the main focus of our first section. Sir, so are we about to find out what this burden is? Yes, sir. This section will define the secret that Helen has been carrying. Now, let's proceed to the next slide, sir. The information here connects two key elements, sir: the daughter, Carol, and the secret. Visually, think of a line drawn between them. The text explains that the story is about her daughter, Carol, who is deceased, and this secret that has been a burden on Helen since. So, sir, the secret is directly related to her daughter? That is the crucial point, sir. The secret is not just an event. It's intertwined with this core relationship. Moving on to the next slide, sir. Again, we have a section title. The visual metaphor here is very evocative, sir. The whispering wall. It suggests that a physical object, a wall, is a key part of the story. This next section will take us back to where the secret began.
Sir, does whispering imply something overheard?
An excellent deduction, sir. It points to the origin of the secret, something heard but perhaps not meant to be. Let's look at the next slide, sir. The visual here paints a very clear picture, sir. A small house, thin walls, a mother in one room, a daughter in another. The text states that Helen would overhear her teenage daughter's private calls from the kitchen. This is the specific action that started it all. Sir, does the fact that it was a small house with thin walls suggest this was almost unavoidable? It does, sir. It highlights how the setting itself facilitated this action, making it seem almost accidental at first. All right, next slide, sir. Here we just see a single line of dialogue, sir. It's stark and impactful. This is the first thing Helen overhears her daughter say. Sir, this sounds like a common teenage sentiment, doesn't it? It is, sir. But for a parent listening secretly from the next room, it would have a very different, very personal impact. It's the first piece of the secret. Let's move on, sir. Similar to the last slide, we see another short, painful phrase. It's a direct continuation of the previous thought. And then Carol adds this. Sir, is this the main irony of the situation? That Carol feels her mother isn't listening, while her mother is, in fact, secretly listening at that very moment? Precisely, sir. The painful irony is at the very core of this moment. And the next slide, sir. This final quote is presented with a pause. She doesn't see me. This visual break in the text emphasizes the depth of the feeling, sir. This is the line that gets to the heart of it. It's not about small disagreements. It's about Carol feeling invisible. Sir, is this the moment the secret becomes truly heavy? Yes, sir. This is the moment a simple act of eavesdropping turns into the discovery of a deep, painful disconnect in their relationship. Let's proceed to the next slide, sir. This slide presents a question, sir. It's visually simple, meant to make us pause and reflect. And this brings us to the central question of the entire story. After hearing all this, why did Helen stay silent? Sir, this question implies that her inaction is as important as her listening. That is exactly right, sir. Her choice not to act at this moment is the turning point. All right, next slide. Here we see the answer, sir. The visual here should be one of paralysis. The text explains that Helen froze. She was afraid of embarrassing Carol, afraid of not knowing what to say, so she did nothing. Sir, so her choice was based on fear rather than a lack of caring. Yes, sir. And that is a crucial distinction. It was not malice, but fear that led to her inaction. And that choice had lifelong consequences. Let's move to the next slide, sir. Another section title. The visual metaphor here, the other side of glass, is very powerful. It suggests being able to see but not connect, a barrier that is transparent but unbreakable. This next chapter of their story is shaped by that single decision. Sir, does glass imply that they could see each other but couldn't reach each other? An excellent way to put it, sir. That is precisely the dynamic this section will explore. Now look at this slide, sir. It's a timeline, a visual progression through 3 stages of life. You can see the clear downward path. It shows how the secret listening in the teenage years led to physical distance in college and finally to superficial weekly calls in adulthood about safe things. Sir, so this timeline shows how a pattern of emotional distance became a fixed part of their relationship? Yes, sir. It demonstrates how that single moment of inaction solidified into a lifelong pattern. On to the next slide, sir. Here we see the metaphor from the section title explained in Helen's own words. The visual is the quote itself, painting that picture of separation. Helen's own words capture it perfectly. It's a devastatingly clear description of their relationship. Sir, this quote confirms the idea of being visible but disconnected? It does, sir. It's the most accurate summary of their bond, close enough to see, but too far to truly connect. Let's proceed to the next slide, sir. Another section title. The visual idea here is one of finality and revelation, sir. A final, unspoken truth. This brings us to the climax of the story, the ultimate consequence of their silence, sir. Does this imply that the truth finally comes out? It implies we will reach the moment where the full weight of their unspoken history is finally revealed, sir. Moving on, sir, this slide is very stark. It's just a number, 42. Visually, it's presented without any other context to emphasize its cold, factual nature. This is the age Carol was when she fell ill with cancer. Suddenly, time becomes a critical factor. Sir, is this number meant to be a shock to the narrative? Yes, sir. It's a stark piece of data that dramatically raises the stakes of the story. Now the next slide, sir. Visually, this text should feel heavy with missed opportunity. It explains that even while Helen was caring for her dying daughter, the pattern of silence continued. The deep conversations never happened. Sir, so even facing death, they could not break through the glass wall? That's the tragedy of it, sir. The pattern was so ingrained that even this ultimate crisis couldn't shatter it. Let's look at the next slide, sir. Another quote, but this one, visually, is the emotional peak of the story. Near the end of her life, this is what Carol says to her mother. It's not an accusation, it's a quiet, heartbreaking wish. Sir, is this the unspoken truth the section title refers to? This is it, sir. This one sentence summarizes 40 years of distance. On to the next slide, sir. This slide presents a powerful visual contrast, a wall versus a door. This is Helen's devastating moment of realization. She understands that her entire life, she chose the passive act of listening through a barrier instead of the active choice of opening a door and connecting. Sir, so this is her moment of clarity, but it comes too late?
Exactly, sir. The realization is complete, but the opportunity to act on it is gone.
All right, let's move to our final section, sir. Again, a title slide. The visual idea here is one of reflection and learning, sir. A lesson from the silence. So, where does this leave us? This final part of our analysis distills the story into its core message. Sir, does this mean we are moving from the narrative to its moral? Yes, sir. We are now extracting the universal lesson from Helen's personal tragedy. Let's look at the next slide, sir. It's another question, visually mirroring the earlier one. But this one is retrospective. Helen's own question pivots her personal story into a lesson for all of us. It's the question that haunts her, but it's one we can all learn from. Sir, so the lesson is about choosing the door over the wall? That is the essence of it, sir. It's about proactive connection versus passive distance. Now this slide, sir, is very important. Visually, it's a direct comparison table, 2 columns set against each other to show a clear choice. It breaks down the 2 core actions. On one side, listening silently, which isn't enough, fosters loneliness and is born from fear. On the other side, walking in, which is everything, fosters connection and is an act of love. Sir, so this explicitly defines the consequences of each choice? Yes, sir. It makes the central lesson of the story incredibly clear and memorable. Let's proceed to the next slide, sir. Here, we see a final piece of advice from Helen. Visually, this quote is framed as a direct address to the reader. This is Helen's plea, turning her regret into a call to action for us. She's telling us not to make her mistake. Sir, so she is essentially warning us not to remain passive? Precisely, sir. She is urging us to act where she failed to. And now for the final slide, sir. The visual here is the simplest of all. Just 3 words, presented with finality and clarity. And this is the ultimate takeaway, the answer to a lifetime of what-ifs. The profound lesson learned through decades of silence is distilled into these 3 powerful words. Sir, so the entire complex story boils down to this one simple action? Yes, sir. After everything, the solution is beautifully and tragically simple. Just go in.